A teenage boy took off his crown on a cold morning in the year 476 and handed it to a barbarian general. His name was Romulus Augustulus, named after the man who founded Rome and the man who made it an empire. And he was the one who lost it. That's the story you were taught. The lights go out. The barbarians pour in. 1,000 years of darkness begins. But here's the thing that will change everything you think you know about history. Rome didn't die that morning. Not really. And if just a handful of moments had gone differently, a river that froze one winter, a plague that arrived a decade later, one general who lived instead of died, the Roman Empire might never have fallen at all. It might still be here. Right now. You might be watching this on a Roman internet, in a Roman world, speaking a Roman language. So let's do something dangerous. Let's rebuild history from the moment it broke, and follow it forward, step by step, all the way to today. Because the deeper you go, the stranger it gets. And the ending is going to catch you completely off guard. First, we have to understand what actually killed Rome. And here's the secret that textbooks bury: Rome wasn't murdered by barbarians. It was killed by bankruptcy. By the 400s, the Western Empire was completely, utterly broke. No money in the treasury. No way to pay soldiers. So what did the emperors do? They hired barbarians to fight other barbarians. And then they couldn't pay those mercenaries either. The borders didn't get smashed in a glorious last stand. They got sold off, piece by piece, because there was nothing left to defend them with. Rome didn't lose a war. It ran out of money. So imagine our first change. In real history, a general named Stilicho, half Roman, half barbarian, and probably the last competent man holding the Western Empire together, was executed in 408. A paranoid emperor believed a rumor that Stilicho was plotting against him. He wasn't. It was pure paranoia. And when Stilicho died, the last effective defender of the West died with him. 2 years later, Rome was sacked for the first time in 800 years. But what if the rumor never reached the emperor? What if Stilicho lived? Suddenly everything changes. Because Stilicho had already beaten these invaders before. He could do it again. He could hold the line. But here's the thing, one man, no matter how brilliant, isn't enough to save an empire. You need the empire itself to want to be saved. You need resources. You need coordination. You need power that can actually project itself across distances. And that's where our second change comes in, and it's bigger than you think. Here's a fact that will reframe everything. When the Western Roman Empire collapsed, the Eastern Roman Empire didn't. It kept going. From Constantinople, it survived not for another century or two. It survived for another 1,000 years. 1,000? They didn't call themselves Byzantines. That's a name modern historians invented. They called themselves Romans. They spoke Roman. They thought of themselves as Roman. Right up until the very end. So the real question was never how did Rome fall? The real question is, why couldn't the wealthy, powerful, surviving East hold on to the West? Why didn't they just reconquer it and stitch the empire back together? The answer is a disease. In the year 541, something emerged from the deserts of Africa. A plague. The first recorded pandemic of bubonic plague in human history, the Black Death's ancestor, arriving 1,000 years before its time. It swept through the Eastern Empire like a fire through dry grass. It killed somewhere between a third and a half of everyone it touched. Entire cities went silent. The dead piled up faster than they could be buried. And here's the crucial part, it hit right as the East was on the verge of reconquering the entire Western Empire. The reconquest was actually working. Roman armies were winning. Roman authority was being restored. And then the bodies started piling up, the soldiers started dying, the supplies stopped moving, and the whole project collapsed from the inside. So our third change is the cruelest one, but also the most powerful. Push that plague back by 30 years. Let the reconquest finish first. Let Rome heal itself before the sickness arrives. And now you don't have a broken empire held together by one lucky general making desperate decisions. You have a reunited Rome. East and West. Whole again. Stretching from Britain to the Persian border. With a full treasury. With a functioning military. With the infrastructure of a continental superpower. The wound is closed. The empire is healed. And it's healed right at the moment it needs to be strongest. Now we let it run forward. And this is where it gets interesting. The first thing this Rome encounters is a storm it never saw coming. Because within a century, out of the Arabian deserts, a new faith and a new army explode across the map with terrifying speed. In our actual timeline, they conquered half of Rome's old territory in a single generation. They swept across North Africa. They took the Levant. They were unstoppable. But in our timeline, they were fighting an exhausted, plague-ravaged, half-broken empire. Here, they slam into Rome at full strength. Walls manned. Granaries full. Navy intact. Soldiers who are actually paid and actually trained. The border doesn't shatter. It holds. And for the next few centuries, the Mediterranean becomes the fault line of the world. Two great civilizations grinding against each other, year after year. Trading blows. And this is the important part, trading ideas. Mathematics. Medicine. Astronomy. Philosophy. Because here's what people forget about borders, they're not just where armies meet. They're where knowledge crosses. In conflict, ideas flow both ways. And nothing we're imagining changes that fundamental truth. So now we skip forward 800 years. And I need you to notice something as we go. In our real history, one of the great tragedies is how much was lost. The Library of Alexandria burned or rotted away. Countless works of Greek and Roman science and literature vanished. We only know they existed because later scholars mentioned them in footnotes. We know Rome had steam-powered toys. We know they built the first assembly lines in their pottery workshops. A Greek engineer named Hipparchus built something impossible, a geared analog computer so sophisticated that nothing like it would appear again for over 1,000 years. The ancient world was standing at the door of the modern age. And then the lights went out. The door closed. And it took humanity 13 centuries to find the door again. But in our timeline, the lights never go out. The libraries never burn. The knowledge never disappears. That geared computer isn't a lonely artifact pulled from a shipwreck 2,000 years after its creator died. It's the first step in an unbroken chain. One engineer builds it. Another improves it. Another improves that. Generation after generation. No 1,000-year gap. No reset. Just progress, compounding, unbroken. So ask yourself this question, because it should be making your skin prickle right now. If Rome never loses its knowledge, if it just keeps building and improving, generation after generation, without interruption, where is the world today? In our real history, the Industrial Revolution happened around 1760. It was built on rediscovered Roman engineering. On Roman concrete. On Greek mathematics that had to be excavated from the ruins of the past. Humanity spent roughly 1,300 years clawing its way back to where Rome had almost been standing all along. Now erase that gap. Give those 1,300 years back to Rome. And the steam engine doesn't arrive in the 1700s. It arrives in the 700s. Maybe the 600s. Maybe earlier. 1,000 years before the Industrial Revolution we actually got. Let that sink in, because the consequences are almost impossible to wrap your head around. A Rome with steam power in the 8th century. Roman railways cutting through Gaul and Hispania and North Africa. Roman factories powered by coal and steam. Roman ships that don't need the wind, that can sail upstream, that can cross oceans on schedule, not on luck. And this isn't some isolated technological wonder. This is an empire that already possessed the roads, the law, The bureaucracy. The shared language that could bind an entire continent together. Now supercharge all of that with industrial power 1,000 years ahead of schedule. So where does that Rome go? It goes everywhere. Steamships reached the Americas not in 1492 with a handful of wooden boats. They arrive centuries earlier. And they don't arrive as desperate adventurers looking for a shortcut to Asia. They arrive as an industrial superpower. What happens next, whether it's a story of exchange and mutual benefit or of conquest and colonization, I'll leave to your imagination. I genuinely want to hear what you think in the comments. But one thing is absolutely certain, the map of the world we know simply never exists. No age of European exploration. Europe isn't a collection of squabbling kingdoms fighting each other for scraps. It's Roman provinces. No competition between rival nations scrambling for colonies in Africa and Asia. No scramble at all. There is one law. One road network. One currency. One authority. From the Atlantic Ocean to the edge of Asia. One Rome, unbroken, industrialized, supreme. And right about now, you might be thinking this sounds like paradise. No dark ages. No lost knowledge. No 1,000-year detour into chaos. One unified world under one rational system. Peace. Order. Progress without interruption. So let me stop you right there. Because I promised you a twist, and here it comes. A Rome that never falls is not a happy ending. I think it might be the darkest timeline of them all. Think about why empires actually fall. It's not just because they get weak. Empires fall because falling apart is how the world resets. When Rome fell, it shattered into hundreds of competing kingdoms, city-states, and republics. And those rivals, desperate to survive, desperate to outthink each other, spent the next 1,000 years inventing their way toward the future. Competition is brutal. It's exhausting. It's also the engine of everything that matters. The Renaissance didn't happen in a Rome that never fell. It happened in a broken world where Italian city-states were fighting for dominance. The Enlightenment didn't come from a unified empire. It came from philosophers who could take their dangerous ideas from one kingdom to a rival kingdom next door. The scientific revolution happened because you could publish something heretical in one place, and when the authorities tried to silence you, you had somewhere else to run. Now kill that. One empire. One authority. One official version of the truth, enforced from one end of the world to the other, with no rival next door. No escape hatch. No place to run when the authorities decide your idea is dangerous. An empire that had industrialized 1,000 years ahead of schedule would also have had a 1,000-year head start on something else. Surveillance. Control. The systematic stamping out of dissent before it ever catches fire. The Rome we're imagining wouldn't just have railways and factories. It would have had 1,000 years to perfect the technology of watching everyone, everywhere, all the time. And the reasons to use it. A single, unchallenged, industrial super-empire. Ruling most of the known world. For 2,000 unbroken years. Ask yourself honestly, does that sound like freedom? Or does it sound like a cage so large you'd never see the bars until you tried to leave? And here's the final turn. The one I've been building toward this entire time. We've been treating the fall of Rome like a wound. A tragedy. A mistake in history that should be corrected. A disaster from which we need to recover. But what if that's completely wrong? What if the fall of Rome wasn't the disaster? What if it was the escape? What if the darkest thing that could have happened to the human race was for that empire to survive? And what if the chaotic, painful, messy 1,000 years that followed? The very thing we call the Dark Ages, what if that chaos was actually the price we paid for everything that came after? Your freedom. Your right to disagree with authority. This video. The fact that you can even hear an idea like this one. Rome had to fall so that we could rise. That teenage emperor handing over his crown on a cold morning in 476. Romulus Augustulus, the boy with a name too big for him. He wasn't ending civilization. Without knowing it, he was setting the world free. So here's my question, and I genuinely want your answer in the comments below. If you could go back, if you could change it, if you could freeze that one river, save that one general, delay that one plague, and give the world a Rome that never fell, knowing everything you now know about what that world might become, would you do it? Would you trade 1,000 years of darkness for 2,000 years of a cage? Think about it carefully. Think hard. Because the most unsettling possibility of all, the one that really should keep you up at night, is this. In some timeline, just one lucky moment away from ours, someone already did,